is your Neepawa Town Council Debrief for the November the 7th, 2023 meeting. The debrief will highlight the key issues being discussed by Council and provide additional information on issues of particular interest to the community. Icy weather kept any planned delegations away, so the meeting jumped right into Council Reports. Councillor Nadeau had a busy month with reports from Westlake Employment, on the Western Manitoba Regional Library Board, the Yellowhead Centre, and Rossburn Subdivision Trail. Of particular note were the statistic from Westlake that they have helped support training for at least 28 Class 1 drivers and 49 healthcare aides this year. As well, there was a notice from the Regional Library that they will be making a small increase to their levy for the coming year. Councillor Sisley reported on this past week's Haunted Forest, a partnership between the Rec Department and the King Club, Settlement Services, and PhilCan, which drew hundreds of visitors. Councillor Gerard reports that on October 29th, we were visited by Malaya Marcelino, a newly sworn-in Minister of Labour and Immigration, and had some initial meetings to share information about our community.
Councillor Nadeau.
I've got a couple, so I can go first. I had a meeting on October 18th with Westlake Employment, and we just this week we renewed our contract with the province for another year. So we continue to advocate with the province for more resources for Neepawa and region in order to have more better employment services. Some interesting stats over the last year, how we've helped in Neepawa. We've actually helped train and support people that are interested in training over 28 Class 1 drivers, 49 healthcare aides, 2 LPNs, and 2 heavy equipment technicians, and a bunch of other employment opportunities, which is really good for our area. On October 18th, also had a Western Manitoba Regional Library Board meeting in Glenborough. Got to see their library, and it's a nice library also in our region that we all have access to. They have some interesting things you can borrow there. You can borrow a Leap Star, which I'm pretty sure it's like a kid-friendly how to read type of computer that they can read with. You put in cartridges and it's got books on these cartridges. As long as it's what I'm thinking. They also have a telescope you can take out. But they're actually purchasing a Nintendo Switch now that you can use within their library, which is an interesting move. And they already have virtual reality there. So that was some interesting things, that maybe some ideas that maybe our library one day could get. We're looking at our 2024 budget. So as a library board, we're looking at the budget and we're looking to pass it at the next November meeting, which isn't a lot of time. We have 1 month to bring it back to our council. Some of the highlights of the budget is we're looking to increase the levy by 65 cents, which would bring it to $13.15 per resident in the town of Neepawa. And with our population, that would be an increase of $3,695.25. It really, if you look at our funding model across the province, we really underfund libraries. A lot of other municipalities are paying upwards of $19 to $22 per capita, such as in different cities. So our region, even though it is a modest increase, definitely, it really is, when you look at it as a whole, we're still paying little for the amount of services that we're getting, and a lot of good things with us being part of the region, so definitely a good thing. Another meeting I'll report on is just on October 30th, we had the Yellowhead AGM meeting, and we were able to fill all the slots except for a vice president and a member at large, but we have some leads in order to fill those holes in the board. The new director of operations, as you all know, is Bill Sirik. He started on October 13th. At the regular meeting of the Yellowhead board, we talked about applying for a grant to get new LED lighting in the hall possibly. So that's something that we're looking to pursue by working with some of our local contractors to help access that grant, which will help in a couple ways. Help with the environment, but also be more efficient, especially with electricity. We're also working. Part of the study that we just had done had really suggested that we had an annual budget, and that's something that the Yellowhead is looking at creating right away, an annual budget. It's nice to see that we're able to use those things that are happening to help support our community to make things more efficient. On November 2nd, the last I'll report on, two more, sorry. November 2nd, there was a Rossburn Subdivision Trail Association meeting, and that was over in Sandy Lake. And Sandy Lake is actually creating a new sign kiosk right along their trail. And basically, it's got all the communities and all the stops along the railway track, because that's what our trail follows, the old railway track. And they're looking for 2 features off the trail that Neepawa can submit. And they're gonna have a photo of our feature on their board, along with the two items that we can highlight as our points of interest. So I need help with what we should submit to them for that. We're still looking at our MOU for communities to sign. We're looking at making one change before we get them out. I know we keep talking about it, but one thing we're looking to do is we're possibly looking to see if our trail association will actually cover the mowing, just so it's more consistent, so that the mowing along the trail is done on a timely manner when we decide, like the different weeks. We usually cut it twice a year, so we're looking at trying to get a grant to cover the cost of a tractor and the attachment that goes on the tractor that does the cutting. And ATVs are still prohibited on our trail, so they're not allowed, even though we continue to see machines motorized vehicles such as that. Every so often you might see one on there, but it's usually the trail maintenance person. In addition to that, we're actually looking for a new trail maintenance person. So if anyone is interested, there's going to be job ads put out in our local papers all along the trail of someone that, if they're interested in doing the maintenance on the trail, it's just something that you do a couple times a year. You go along the entire trail, so 176 kilometers. You would be able to do it at your own pace, and you would inspect the trail and report back to the board and do minor repairs, such as repairing and replacing signs as they go missing or damaged or lost.
Councillor Sisson.
I'll make mine much shorter. The haunted forest, I just wanted to touch briefly on it. Nicole didn't want to throw out numbers because she didn't have an exact number. We just know there was hundreds of kids down there, and it was fabulous. It was very well run. So big thank you to Nicole Cooper, Kin Club, and Settlement Services and Philcan of Neepawa. They did a fabulous job down there. And Marilyn wanted me to touch on the Chamber Parade of Lights, which is November 25th. It is a 6 p.m. start. There is some volunteers that are still needed, so if anybody is wanting to volunteer, you can contact Jennifer at the Chamber office at 204-476-5292.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Gerard.
On October the 29th, we did have Cabinet Minister Malaya Marcelino come and have initial meetings with the town, and I thought it was great that we could have some open dialogue very early on with the new provincial government. And we discussed some of the innovative things that we were doing regarding education in our community, participating in healthcare, how we've invested in regional buildings that are facilitating that, and I know it's going to create future meetings in short order with the same minister. So again, very, very promising that we're hopefully at the table of the cabinet of the new provincial government. And just one other one, and this would come in under finance. I just thought I'd report. Annually, the town of Neepawa charges rent to the farming project that occurs. Now those rents the town of Neepawa occurs are solely to recover taxes that we have to pay on the airport land that goes to the RM of Langford, North Cyprus. So for that municipal facility, we have to pay rent to the RM of Langford, North Cyprus. So solely as a means of recapturing those taxes, and by doing that to that farming group, the town of Neepawa actually helped ensure that project will put $114,000 in funds back into the community facilities, which are the curling club and to the Yellowheads. So Again, maybe there was opportunities to capture higher rents, but I'm very happy that the town has taken the approach we have. And we're seeing $57,000 to each facility. And maybe we can get more rural partners to get involved in helping fund some of those facilities long term.
Manager of Operations Denise Kay reports on a pre-construction meeting for the new water main project, which will start mobilizing materials in December. And in news that the community has been waiting for, also reports that the Park Lake project is just a week or so away from being completed, with the temporary bridge scheduled for removal sometime next week. For residents, he notes that the fall yard waste pickup is now complete, and any additional yard waste must be delivered to the compost site, and that they are dealing as best they can with the icy conditions, but residents should be cautious as it will take some time to complete.
Well, we hosted our pre-construction meeting for the new water main project that we've awarded through the Water Services Board and Swift Construction. That was held here. Swift plans to start mobilizing materials in December, possibly a little bit of fusing starting as well, but the main brunt of construction will start in January. Park Lake project, it's darn close. I think there's about another week or two.
Yeah.
The dike is complete, the spillway is complete. They're just doing rock placement right now, topsoil placement. They managed to scrub the entire lake, but I don't think you'll probably notice that. Looks a little different. To run the bills around a little bit. I think the bridge is scheduled to be removed next week, depending. So everything is coming together really nice there. Fall cleanup is completed, so any residents now have to bring their own leaves, compost material back to the compost site. Staff are no longer picking that up. Again, if you're using any of the plastic bags, we really appreciate it if you tear them open and tidy it up for us so it doesn't impede and contaminate the load. For the last couple weeks now, we've been working on the budget here in preparation. That'll be ongoing in another couple of months or so as we keep completing quotes and estimates and then some requests for information. So we've also removed a fire hydrant on the fire hall lot. We had to get that placement just slightly closer to the RCMP to facilitate some of their insurance needs. So that was completed by town staff. Managed to go to the city for some project planning for 2024. We've had some drainage work, so our consultants about, so they're probably going to be out surveying. Weather pending again, they're supposed to be here this week. Hopefully it's later part of the week, that's nice. On October 21st, I managed to be in the city, so I attended a Trails Manitoba meeting. It was on the weekend. It worked out really well. There was a lot of other trail enthusiasts from across the province, so they had some different fundraising ideas, some different concept ideas. Different speakers promoting different parts of it. So it's really interesting. And final warning that, yes, the town staff know everything's very icy. Our staff are out there. They're doing their best on the sidewalks. They're doing their best on the streets. We just ask that residents be patient and be very cautious when they're walking down the sidewalks or on the streets. We're doing our best. We just can't control when it's going to start freezing rain here. So please be careful.
Council received correspondence from Ian Bushy, new Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations and Minister of Indigenous Economic Development, to announce one-time per capita funding coming out soon to communities outside Winnipeg, and to seek feedback on multi-year funding options, as well as to introduce himself to the communities.
So the first is the letter from the Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations, the Honourable Ian Bushy. I'd like to take this opportunity to formally reach out to you for the first time as the Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations. I'm honoured to take on this role and committed to work with municipalities and northern communities to make this province a better place for all Manitobans. Although our work is just beginning, I am aware of the many projects and services that sustain your communities. In the weeks ahead, your administration will receive funding contribution agreements for the one-time per capita funding distributed to municipalities outside Winnipeg. I also look forward to gaining your perspectives on a multi-year funding model for municipalities that provides reliable funding that you can count on for programs, infrastructure, and maintenance in the future. This funding and other support for service delivery, asset management, and infrastructure projects advance shared priorities that address population growth and growing economies. Looking forward to meeting you all at the upcoming Association of Manitoba Municipalities Fall Convention and forging a respectful partnership with you, your council, and your administration as we work together to make life better for families across the province.
Up for discussion was a request received for a significant rental increase for the county courthouse, which was received long after budget was set for the year. The County Courthouse is a partnership between the Town of Neepawa, the Arm of Rosedale, and the Municipality of North Cyprus Langford, and there is existing legislation regarding its governance that needs to be reviewed and adhered to going forward. Council defeated the motion, leaving their contribution at the level that was budgeted for this year.
So the first one is the Beautiful Plains County Court Building, the 2023 rent increase. So the town of Neepawa has for a number of years paid roughly 50% of the rent allotment that goes over to the county court building, amounting to $16,900. For this particular year, we were given an invoice for $24,900, so it's an $8,000 increase. Why this is on your table right now is this was received after the budget was prepared and the financial plan was approved. So this has not been given any particular approval within your budget, and you need to decide if you're going to pay the increase.
Can I speak to this a bit, or should we? I want to speak to this. Currently at the county courthouse, there's a lot of funding. There's not a lot of fairness being respected amongst the three partners currently at the facility. Currently 2 municipalities have 0 footprint within that facility, but understanding the historical designation that we feel it's important that we have to be involved in that facility. But what we do need to do is see some equity come back in that. So I know early conversations are that ahead of next year's budget that we have to address it. And I think we need to see that I had asked Colleen to attach the legislation that actually guides the governance of that facility, and that we need to get that facility to start complying with the governance of that. And one of the few things that we do have at our disposal is that we can get the province involved to negotiate rates, and it may have to come to that going forward. I'm not saying it will, but we have one municipality that draws rent out of that facility, which is not in compliance with it. So there's a number of issues there, but we have always agreed to this budget level. So I would recommend that that we honor the budgets that we had prior to this new invoice. I did vote against how the rents were to be levied on all 3 partners, but we did agree that there does need to be a rent increase over at the facility. So I would say my own recommendation is the person who sits on that board, that we actually pay the existing rents that we've had up to this point, and then we start to go forward and get some fairness back in how we handle those fees over for that facility.
So just to be clear, you're saying pay the $16,900.
16,900.
But not
the increased level, yes. Again, also because of budget, because this was late to budget.
well, and it's similar to our last meeting, if everybody recalls, we brought the Whiteland Watershed here for after budget increase as well.
Yes, correct.
Okay, any other discussions?
Can I ask a question? What happens to the shortfall over there?
Currently, there is a surplus of funds that are in there, and they have been drawing down on that. So I mean, the budgets have been a negative budget and been drawing on surplus, and we've been pressing them that is not a proper budget to run a negative budget. But this is now 6 months after the fact when that budget was supposed to be passed, and it's outside of our budget process. So there will be increased rents to Neepawa potentially, but hopefully we get some more equity, solve some of those inequities amongst the partners.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so everybody understands the conversation. I'll read the motion. Whereas Beautiful Plains County Court Building falls under the joint jurisdiction of the town of Neepawa, RM Rosedale, Municipality of North Cyprus Langford, with its operations and management looked after by a committee of representatives from the 3 entities. And whereas the County Court Building Committee have warranted that a rent increase is necessary to cover the annual expenses, whereas no formal request regarding the proposed increase came forward, council considering it prior to the passing of the 2023 financial plan. As a result, the budget was approved using the 2022 rental amount of $16,900. Therefore, be it resolved that the council of the town of Neepawa hereby approve the requested rent payment of $24,900 for 2023 to the Beautiful Plains County Court Building Committee, which includes a rent increase of $8,000. So moved by Councillor Pottinger, seconded by Councillor Gerard. All in favor? Opposed? That's defeated.
And it is that time of year when we start to talk about snow removal. Council has received its annual monetary commitment from the province for maintenance of provincial roads that run through town, which include Main Street, Mountain Avenue, and Commerce. For snow removal services, it will continue to contract 2 separate local companies who have been splitting the work for the past few years.
So this we receive annually as well from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. It's the same amount they're offering to pay to Neepawa for the year 2023-24, $9,885. And this is for Mountain Avenue, Provincial Trunk Highway number 16 west to Commerce Street to plow winter road and all snow to the disposal site. So these are the ones that are more applicable just to the town of Neepawa in general. We, a number of years ago, we split the snow clearing operations between Pat Baker and Rob Smith, so it provides, work for their employees through the winter. So far, it's been a phenomenal sharing of, getting the snow cleared very quickly. And the only increases would be, with Pat Baker, with specific grader 720, increase from $125 to $150. And of course, Rob Smith, there was no increases at all. So as much as there might be little differences in what they're charging, depending on whether it be a grader or a truck or whatever, overall, very comparable. And I don't know what I can say, we've been very happy with their service.
Council is reviewing a new tree protection bylaw, which will cover what can and cannot be done with and to town-planted trees, and as well what property owners and contractors must consider when working near the trees. The bylaw also includes provisions for community engagement and education. Council will review and revisit the proposed bylaw at the next meeting. And finally, Council will be doing a regular review of their accessibility plan, this time paying particular attention to addressing how information is presented to the community and ensuring that there are accessible options and alternative distribution methods that meet current standards.
Pauline, new tree protection.
Yeah, so these ones, I don't have a resolution for your approval tonight. I want you to be fully aware of what it is, and we'll bring this back to the next meeting for discussion, because this has not gone to a specific committee to be vetted at all, so we brought it here. The first one is a tree protection bylaw. This bylaw was drafted after noticing, the city of Brandon has one, different places have one, and when you create a tree canopy in Neepawa or any urban forest, the value you get from those specific tree canopies is immeasurable, basically. We spent a lot of money in the last 3 years, as you know, on trees. Denis sees a tree and he vibrates. He's so anxious to purchase more trees. And of course, Kara has been taking pictures nonstop for our asset management of these trees. We need the ability to protect these because we have had in the past certain incidences where a resident just doesn't like that tree and cuts it down. And so this bylaw is going to say what you can and cannot do. We're going to say those are very important to us. We invest a lot of money in those trees, and we want to make sure that they're there, for the longevity. And then through this, we would create that maintenance program about making sure that, as you know, we have a Dutch Elm program. We make sure we purchase trees that aren't suspect to certain bugs or otherwise. So this would give us a little more teeth, such that if we had to enforce, we can enforce better under a bylaw to make sure people abide by that. We'd like you to read this prior to next meeting. If you have any questions, you can let us know. We'll give first reading to that bylaw at the next meeting. We also, though, created a tree protection policy, because what we had in the past, we had various policies that might have spoke to, you know, the planning side of it, or, you know, what happens when you snow clear, or what happens when you this. So by replacing basically 4 policies with this particular one tree protection policy, and then supported by the bylaw, it also gives us the ability to talk about how work happens in proximity to trees, what a contractor would need to do to protect that tree should they're on site, should a property owner also decide to do some work on their property and there's an adjacent tree on the boulevard, they also have to be cognizant of the fact that that tree is there, it's a town tree, they can't wreck it either. And then it talks about community engagement and education and making sure that maybe there's opportunity for us to speak to, encouraging people to create that tree canopy with us. So we're very fortunate in Neepawa, there's lots of communities that probably don't identify the fact that the importance that trees deliver, the fact that they drive down just the heat in the summer by creating that canopy several degrees. Tourism, the beautification, all of those things. So we want you to read the bylaw and the policy, and prior to next meeting, if you have any things you'd like to amend or bring forward, we do have 3 chances of reading on the bylaw, but the policy will be put in place next meeting as well.
I did read the policy and I actually like it, but I like that it's got very clear rules of how trees can be removed and the expectation of what is constituted finishing that job, whether it be stump removal, things like that. And this doesn't in fact relate to any what the person does on their own private property regarding their trees, but just these are town assets.
Anything from trimming to, it doesn't matter what it is, we value them and we're going to prove to the public we do.
So how does that work in the case with Manitoba Hydro when they come and they hack and destroy? Just curious, because I mean, I lay witness to that on Brown every second year, and would they have to comply under our rules now under this?
Unfortunately not. We have to do our best that they try to trim and prune this to the best of their abilities to not harm something, but at the end of the day, they have to protect their assets as well. So in those cases,
Dare to dream.
in those cases, we're trying to select species that maybe don't grow as high under the wires, or a placement that maybe they're more shapeable, moldable trees that we can get them steered away with growth and crop pruning away from the wires.
That big U is a shape.
Hold the wire up.
The brown pruning would be
Yeah.
for nightmares or night, how it looks. It's good.
So for those that have read it, and I assume you all have, is there any questions tonight that we need to think through before we get to our next meeting? And if you do have, just by all means, make sure that we're.
Well, it's very detailed, but I think it's very clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
The last one I have, and it doesn't have a resolution as well, it's a proposed new accessible information and communication policy, and we've updated our accessibility plan. So as you know, the Accessibility for Manitoba's Act was passed a few years ago now, and we, as a municipality, as a public body, have to comply. We created basically our plan, and then we updated it as a segment of years have gone by. So we're at the point where we have to update for 2024-25. You're going to notice in there, the basic changes in there are speaking to the fact that now we're addressing the next segment of the accessibility plan, where we have to actually have a policy talking about how our information that we present to the public or communicate to the public is accessible format. We can provide it in size 14 font or whatever is necessary. Make sure our websites comply. Make sure that everything that we might provide to the public can be given in a format that they need, so that we're not limiting how we send things. So for now, our new EDO website and our REC websites, they meet the standards. We're currently assessing what our Town of Neepawa website, whether it does or not. We think it does, but we just want to make sure. It's a little older website. And then of course this policy will speak to all that. So once again, I will be bringing this back to the meeting and give you some time to look at it, and back to the meeting on the 21st for approval of this.
Also covered were the regular financial reports, the annual increase for 911 services, and updates on the airport farming project. You can view end-to-end coverage of the Town Council meeting elsewhere in the NACTV schedule, including immediately following this. If you have comments, questions, or topics that we might be able to shine some light on, please do reach out to us. The number is 204-476-2639, or you can email us at nactvnews@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.